Hey there viewers, welcome back to Ray of All Trades. Today we're going to work on a Cub Cadet RZT 50-inch cut. It's got the Kawasaki motor on it. Owner's complaining of several problems with this one. We've got a left side hydro that is a lot weaker than the right side. He's already replaced the right side hydro pump. The left side is extremely weak. We're going to do a tune-up on the Kawasaki motor. He said that the deck is kind of dragging low on this side, on the right hand side. So I think something about a bracket being loose. And then I also had to air up the tires. Both the rear tires were flat, and it took I don't know, 4 or 5 days, maybe a week, for both of them to go flat. So we're going to put some tubes in the rear as well. Let's get this thing up on the ramp, see what we can come up with. I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but that lift is only a 1,000 pound capacity and it's used pretty heavily. So I'm going to be in the market for probably a 1,500 pound lift. Mostly because my Skag mower comes in at 1,500 pounds dry weight, I want to say. Something like that. It's heavy. And when I attempted to lift up my Skag, I had a really hard time. So I'm going to be in the market for a lift that is a lot stronger than this one. So you guys have any ideas or suggestions for a new lift, please let me know. So what I noticed, it gets a lot worse when it gets hotter, but that hydro works just fine. And of course, since you're running two motors at the exact same time, it's very easy to tell when one's not quite keeping up with the other one. However, this one here, I basically was all the way forward trying to catch up with that one just barely forward. Like I said, the previous owner replaced one of the hydros already. He's already bought the new hydro for me to change out. I'm guessing probably because he needed a press to be able to get the hub off of there. And we're going to do a little bit of work to this thing at the exact same time. So he mentioned that the deck on this side seems to drop down, and I'm noticing that it catches on something right about there, and then it basically drops down. So we're gonna look at that as well. And of course, the normal maintenance tune-up items, things like that. Stick a couple of tubes in here. Y'all have seen me do that before. Motor runs really good, but needs a air filter, fuel filter, oil change. Let's get the back end of this thing lifted up, take a peek and see what's going on with the hydros, see if there's something obvious. And I say we get the rear wheels off of this thing, get it up on jack stands so we can support the frame. So this is the one that the owner already changed. Hydro gear, Zulu Charlie, Alpha Mike Bravo Bravo 4 Delta Delta Bravo 3 Papa Papa X-ray. This is the, I'm guessing, OEM. Zulu Charlie, Delta Mike, Bravo Bravo 4 Delta Delta Charlie 2 Alpha Papa X-ray. Here's our drive belt for the hydros. So each one has its own cooling fan. This looks like the release. There's reverse, and there's forward. Zulu Charlie, Delta Mike, Bravo Bravo, 4 Delta Delta Charlie, 2 Papa Papa X-ray. It's already sealed up. It's already got the springs, the levers. It's already got the parking brake assembly attached to it. The cooling fan. Other than the hub swap, this looks pretty straightforward. Transmission's been preset to neutral position by the factory. Friction pack nut will need to be backed off 1 to 2 turns once the unit has been installed. What they're saying is this right here is currently in the neutral position and it's tightened up by that nut right there, by that bolt actually. They're calling it a friction pack nut. So, but it looks more like a bolt to me. Anyway, it's saying to loosen up that nut to allow this to move back and forth. So basically we don't want to move anything here because it's already set to neutral position. It doesn't say anything about the hydro fluid, which I would assume would be in here. So is it already installed? Let's get the old one out, take that loose and see, you know, if there's anything special about it, just to make sure we don't start changing anything. All right, let's take it apart a little at a time. Okay, so we've got a spring here. This spring is what gives tension to the belt that drives the 2 pumps. So let's get that spring off of there. There we go. So that should release the tension on the belt. Okay, now the hydro belt can come off. Let's disconnect the drive arm. 14mm wrench to back it up. Okay, so we have a hydro release. Let's get that out of there. All right, what I was trying to show you guys, there was a cotter pin in here, and I pulled it out, and that is your hydro release. So we'll just pull it up out the way for right now. Looks like we have a bolt holding the front here, 2 bolts holding the back here, and then 2 really long ones that come across. So let's get the 2 long ones out first. Okay, so these 2, there's a nut on this side, and then these long bolts look like they come out on that side. So there's basically these have to come out. A couple of 18mm nuts. Spinning on that side. All right, vice grip on that side. One there. Looks like those come out pretty easy. That's nice. So that's what that looks like. Right, there's our bottom supports. So that emergency brake right there. Let's see. Let's disconnect that. So that emergency brake is a arm that's held in place by a cotter pin. Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't a cotter pin, it was a hairpin. All right. And that's going to come out that direction. So I'm going to back up that nut at the top. It's half inch bolt from underneath. Keep those handy. And unless I'm mistaken, once I drop these 2 out of here, the whole thing should fall. I'll take this one out and loosen up the other. Keep that nut up close. little heavier than I thought, but I got her. Yeah, she's a little bit on the dirty side, huh? So that emergency brake came through like this. All right, and was all the way up like that. So that's why I had to take it off from the inside. So we know we want to put that through just so we don't forget to put it on there. Let's see, this is our breather hose, which this one here doesn't use a breather hose. This uses something else. It's like a vented nut on the top. I'd like to see what's in there though. Okay. Tell you what, let's blow that off of there. Peek down inside there. I see fluid. It's got fluid, and it doesn't look too bad other than all those metal shavings. Oh yeah, there's a lot of metal shavings down inside there. Well, we know why this one failed. Something inside there is just wearing away. Let's just put it back together for right now. Let's take that one out. It is a 1/4 inch. The fluid's basically filled up to about right there. So let's check this one and see if it's got the same fluid in it. And we still have to pull this hub off of here. Let's let it sit flat. And yep, she's full of fluid. It looks like it's filled up to about right there. So normally I would expect that there would be instructions that say, hey, this type of fluid, this quantity, all that other stuff, a tag that says, you know, caution, no fluid, anything like that. I just wanted to make triple sure that we were installing something that was ready to go, rather than finding out later in the fine print from where it was ordered from, you know, like caution, you have to fill this with fluid, something along those lines. Okay, does this come loose easy? Yes. Yep, it's got fluid in it. Basically, it's ready to roll. Okay, let's go ahead and get that hub assembly off of there and get it mounted on the new one so that we're ready to roll. All right, just took out the 14mm headed bolt. Let's see if we can get this puller. I took the washer off of there. Let's see if we can use a puller and try to get this off smoothly. See, it should come right off of there. So we're going to use some red Loctite to put that back on. because that's what they had on there before. Normally I would use blue because I expect it to have to come back off. But for whatever reason, well, this does hold tension. You know what, we're going to use blue. It does hold tension to hold the wheel on, but honestly all it's doing is aligning everything so that it doesn't fall off that way. We just don't want it to back out. Let's give ourselves a little bit of a help here. 2x6 or 6x6 block. Put that up on the block. Let's get these bolts started. Birds are singing. Somebody showed me an app once that told you the name of the bird if you could hear the sound of it. It's kind of cool. All right, so the 3 bolts down here are started. Let's get the 2 long ones all the way through. All right, let's slide these 2 long T-bolts in with the 2 spacers. Slide it all the way through, line it up. And 2 18mm nuts. Lock the vice grips back on, and we're going to use the 3/8 inch impact. Let's go ahead and snug it on down. I'm not going to tighten them up. I want to get everything going to line up properly. Just snug these 2 down, just barely. Same thing on this side. Now those are snug. Let's go ahead and do a 1/2 inch wrench on the top and snug these up. And this one up here in the front. All right, now everything's all lined up like it's supposed to be. I think we'll go ahead and tighten it all down. So looking online, I didn't find any torque specs for how tight to make these anchor bolts that go through the frame. So nothing for the housing. But here for the hub nut, they were talking about 250 foot-pounds of torque. And there is no way that this bolt can actually hold 250 foot-pounds of torque. So we're just going to tighten these up. Just a few ugga-duggas, 1/2 inch bolts. And these 2 18mm nuts. Let's tighten these down. Again, a few ugga-duggas. Backed up with the vice grips. And we're going to catch the other side. And tighten this one down with the 3/8 impact as well. All right, that's it for the mounts. Okay, we're going to line up the drive arm, make sure that it sits on that hole just right. So it's in neutral position already, so if it wasn't set right, you would just adjust this arm in my left hand here. Let's see, 9/16 wrench, go ahead and tighten this one on down. Okay, let's put the hydro release lever through and line it right up on that release arm. I'm sorry, y'all can't see what I'm doing. So here's the hydro release arm. Go ahead and line it right up on that shaft. Shove a new cotter pin in here. Let's get the pin itself opened up so it doesn't fall out. And then it works just like this. Pull it out, lock it in, push it back in. Next we have the emergency brake arm that I got hung up here. So let me pull it back out and try to shove it back through the hole properly. There's a hole in the frame right here that I'm trying to push this arm through. Pull this arm back out and push it back through the hole in the frame to allow it to run up over to that emergency brake arm. And right up here, we need to feed it right back through that hole and connect it back to the emergency brake arm. And let's get that hairpin hooked up on there again. You and I are going to have to share the same space here for a second. There we go. Alright, here's the emergency brake lever. Not sure if you can see it running or not, but basically it's connected to this arm up top that I'm pulling on. And hydro pump pulley belt. Let's get it pulled over. There we go. Get the belt line back up on here. Push the idler pulley back in place. Alright, and let's get the spring hooked back up. Grab a good set of needle nose pliers. And put it right back here on this bracket. And 1/4 inch Allen key bolt. This says to loosen it up 1.5 to 2 turns. So now that I've adjusted for neutral, basically the arms are in neutral, and I adjusted the length of the arms for neutral, which honestly didn't need any adjustment, but let's loosen this up about 1.5 turns, something like that. And make sure that the arm moves like it's supposed to. All right, time to put this HUD back on. We're going to use a little bit of anti-seize. Not so much that I look like the Tin Man, but just a little bit of anti-seize. I'm going to slide this on. Oh yeah, that went on easy. Alright, a lot easier than the other one coming off of there. The washer would go next if I didn't drop it. Got my never-ending bottle of blue Loctite. I've already bought the replacement for this thing. It just keeps going and going though. It's kind of weird. Let's get the washer back on. And 14mm bolt. Like I said, they called for 240 foot-pounds, assuming that I was looking at the right literature. But that's coarse-threaded bolt going into a coarse-threaded, milled shaft. I just don't see it holding 250 foot-pounds of torque. So we're just going to tighten it up with this little 3/8 inch impact and give it a few ugga-duggas and anticipate that the Loctite is going to keep that bolt from backing out, and the keyway on the shaft keep it from spinning. So I just don't think that this bolt can handle that kind of torque. Alright, let's see if we can get some wind inside these tires. New set of tubes. Got my bead breaker out. Pull out the valve core. Let's get the bead breaker. Come on. Alright, set it right past the bead. There's the rim. And there we go. All right, nothing left to do but to wrestle with these tubes. All right, let's get started on the oil change on the FH661V. So I've already put a pan underneath the machine right there. And here's why you do that. So you see this recess in the body right here with the hole through it? The oil is going to come out and land on this panel and then fall through that hole. And then that hole is right above that pan there. What you would normally do is pull this cap, which usually has a ring that's attached to it. And then this should be a valve to allow it to open. What's occurring on this one though is the whole thing is unscrewing. And we're gonna fix that. Let's go ahead and get the oil out of it. See, just flooding, and then just runs right down into the pan. While that's draining, let me show you what's going on. All right, actually this style doesn't do the quarter turn. Anyway, what you do is you squeeze these two tabs and then you pull that valve out, and that would allow the oil to come through there and out that hole. My problem was this was actually loose. So I need to put some tape on this thing after I get it all cleaned up and make sure that that gets snugged up on there really good and tight, so that the next time you do the oil change, you would just literally pull that and then push it back in when you're done, and there's your oil change. While we're watching that drain, let's go ahead and get the oil filter out. All right, so for the plug, you can see I put Teflon tape on it. It takes a 15/16 deep well socket to go over the top of it to tighten it. It'd be difficult to get a wrench on there, but you probably could. Make sure it's not pulled out. So that's how you would drain it. That's how you stop it. And then there's your dust cap. And that's how it would change from that point forward. But like I said, that whole thing was loose So I really wanted to get it cleaned up. Make sure I had a good seal on it. And get some oil on the seal. And just hand tight. Now I just need to fill it up with oil. When I'm reading, the Kawasaki FH661V takes 2 to 2.2 quarts. So we're gonna put some oil on this to help the pre-filter catch dirt particles before they end up here. All right, so just some oil. I just rub it all around. Give it a good couple of squeezes, get the oil to move around. Doesn't need much, just helps. Let's get the fuel filter changed. Wow, she's on there good. Tell you what, we got plenty of hose. We're going to just cut that one. Tell you something I've noticed recently is fuel pumps, mechanical fuel pumps. I've had a higher volume of failures of those this year for whatever reason. Didn't catch any of them on video, but I almost never need to change those things. And it seems like I've had a bunch of them this year. You guys seen the same thing? If you are, could you let me know? See if I'm alone in this endeavor, or if it's something going on. Just seemed kind of weird. And what's occurring is it seems like it's the check valve that's going bad inside them. You know, because the diaphragm is still intact. Just kind of strange. So unless I forgot something, the last thing that they complained about was the deck. Something's loose on the deck here. So let's see what we got. All right, so that's my cutting height. I don't know, that seems to be pretty level. A little bit tough because I have a these ramps on here are not quite level. You know, they're somewhat bent. That's getting caught. I don't know that that's getting caught. I think that's actually just, that's the bolt from the hanger. So what I found, you see it actually goes smooth right now. So this bar right here, I'm sorry, this nut right here is connected to a bar. That bar comes up to this lifting arm right here. And if I lift it up, there's a groove inside the top of that bar, and that allows that deck to move up and down without that bar moving. And what was occurring is that bar was slipping past the nut, you know, the shoulder bolt, and not coming back down easily. So literally I just put some WD-40 on there, and now it's not hanging up anymore. So that was an easy one. It took me a minute to figure it out though. And there's a broken spring inside there that I've got bungeed up or zip tied up. And what it's for is this handle. To hold this handle, you know, like if you let go right now, it should spring this way. So that spring is actually broken. Honestly, I don't know that it needs it on this one. It's pretty well locks in place. Let's check the spindles. I'm not feeling grease fittings on those. Let's see if we can get it up in the air and see what it looks like. Nope, no grease fittings on the spindles, unfortunately. Let's take the blades off and just touch them up real fast. Yeah, just gonna put an edge on all these, put them all back on, and we'll give this thing a try. Yeah, she's running pretty good. Hydros look like they're working like it's supposed to. The tires are kind of hard, which is why it was slipping a little bit. I think I'm gonna finish cutting the grass. Hope y'all got something out of the video. Really appreciate you hanging out. I will catch you guys on the next one.